You're listening to Navid Moosa of The Mindset Movement. Good day, good people. My name is Navid Moosa. I'm your host today and always for The Mindset Movement podcast. What we try to do here is bring you guys value. How do we bring it? We can bring it through education. We bring it through our guests. We bring it through our life experiences and our work experiences. First-time listeners, thanks for giving us opportunity. We know there's a lot of information out there, but you choose to stop here, and we appreciate that. Long-time listeners, thanks for your loyalty. And if you're new to the channel, look, no fluff, no stuff. We get into it right away. I did a series a few weeks back about crypto. Crypto as a whole in general, like what exactly is cryptocurrencies, digital currencies, NFTs, digital wallets, so on and so forth. And that was generic for the most part, but it was definitely a for the novice listener, if you will. And that was great. And I got a lot of feedback, a lot of positive feedback from that saying, hey, I enjoyed it, but I heard and know everything you've already talked about. Can we take it up a notch? Not a problem. So that's what we have here. We have level 2. We've taken it up a notch. And I've got 3 guests here, 2 separate companies, and an unlimited amount of knowledge. So I'm just going to kind of go round robin here. What I first see on my screen, we have Malpass from Next Generation. We have John.Denza from ErisX, and we have Brittany Melville from Next Generation as well. Now, for those who are first-time listeners, my background is in real estate, and a lot of my investors use a self-directed IRA to fund my real estate deals, their real estate items, so on and so forth. So I have that knowledge, intimate knowledge of how that works there very well. I'm still learning the crypto space. And what I learned in the past few weeks is that you can actually marry the both of how to leverage your IRA into the crypto space. However, that's all I know. I don't know exactly the mechanics of it. And this is why this group is here. If you guys don't mind, I'm just going to go around where I see my screen. Just a quick background of what you do and the company you're with. I'm going to start off with Jack.
Thank you, Navid. My name is Jack Malpass. I am work for Next Generation. We are the self-directed IRA company. I have been with the company for about 2.5 years. I am the business development specialist. I handle the aspects of crypto for our company. Very nice to meet all of you, and hope somewhere down the line we can speak again.
All right, John.
Yep. Thank you for having me, Navid. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is John.Denza. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer for ErisX. We're a US-based spot and futures cryptocurrency exchange. Prior to joining ErisX, I'd spent about 20 years in traditional finance, working at multiple exchanges focused on spot, I should say, options and equities. Those exchanges included NASDAQ, CBOE, and BATS. And then I would say 5-6 years ago, I stumbled upon crypto and was fortunate enough to land here at ErisX, where I've been for the last 3 years.
All right, thank you. Brittany?
Hey, Navi, great to see you as always. I'm Brittany Melville with Next Generation. I'm the Director of Marketing and Sales for the company. And we're very focused on providing education to investors and all listeners. So we're excited to be here today to talk about crypto and IRAs and provide as much education as possible.
Great. Thank you all very much. We appreciate your time. Full disclosure, we started talking before. I didn't hit the record button, guys. So I ended up having recording because we had to start all over again. But that's life, right? That's reality. I wish it's kind of nice to have that reboot button, that restart button, but not all of us have that, right? It is what it is. The nice thing is about the crypto space, it's still early enough. Don't think you're too late to the party. Even the IRA space, doing that, it's never too late to start your IRA. Either way, having said that, this is not financial advice. We're not telling you guys what to do. We're not telling you how to do it. We're just simply have a discussion about where we see certain trends going, where we see success in, and potentially with some volatility in. And I know talking about this, depending who you are, you're going to have questions on regulations. You're going to have questions on, what about this? And, what about that, about taxes and stuff like that. Again, it's not financial advice. So if you have tax questions, always contact your CPA or your financial advisor that you do have one, and ask these questions. This episode here, and this is one of many that we plan to do as a miniseries, is basically our phase 2 of cryptos here. In my opinion, it's not going anywhere. IRAs have been around, in my opinion, not going anywhere anyways. How can we take the boat and kind of create this potential stream of income whether it be now or later, however. And having said that, ladies first, I'm gonna start off with Brittany. If you don't mind, just trying to get this conversation started of how an IRA is structured and crypto, and kind of go from there.
Sure. So there are, I think, essentially two pieces to that beginning of the conversation for someone who's trying to understand the marriage between an IRA and then cryptocurrency. So one component is the mechanics of how it works, how to set it up, what steps to take, and all that, the logistical piece. And then the other part is understanding the value and the benefits of that too. I know a lot of times we get the question, like, why would I do this in an IRA and not just use my checking account or my personal cash? So I want to make sure that we touch on that too. Jack will talk a little bit about that. But to address the first piece of that in terms of how it actually works and how it's set up, at a high level, there are two ways that you can invest in crypto through an IRA. So the first option is a direct investment through a third-party exchange. And that way you'd have the option to have your IRA invest directly in cryptocurrency without requiring setting up an additional entity, basically. Now, I should put out a disclaimer that I can't say for sure that all self-directed IRA companies offer all these options, but I can speak to you about the ones that we offer and generally what you could expect if you were doing your research. So through the direct investment option, you basically set up a self-directed IRA with a self-directed custodian, like a Next Generation, for example. And then you would fill out an application through whatever third-party exchange you're looking to invest in crypto through. So once your IRA has been open and you've moved funds into the IRA, and then you've set up that account with the exchange as an extension of your IRA, from there, you basically have the custodian send the funds out to the exchange, and then you work with the exchange directly to buy and sell crypto. So they directly custody the crypto that is owned by your account. And that way it works as a closed loop system. So funds leaving the crypto account always come back to your IRA first. They should never leave that account and go to you personally. Because remember, we're talking about retirement account, so we don't want to incur any penalties or taxes, right? And as a custodian that's actually holding your IRA, they communicate with the exchange to receive any necessary reporting and then handle any transactions of cash flowing back and forth. So that's one way you can do it. Another way, which involves an additional step, is doing it through what is called an IRA LLC. So in this approach, the self-directed IRA is open and funded, just as I mentioned in the first option. But the additional step here is that the IRA holder will work with an attorney to open a newly formed LLC. And then when that operating agreement is drafted for the LLC, which I'm sure many of our listeners are familiar with LLCs because they invest in real estate, so I think we all know. But this would be a specialized type of LLC to be held by an IRA. So the IRA would essentially be the member of the LLC. And from that point, once the LLC is set up with IRA as the member of it, the actual IRA account holder, the person, can list themselves as manager of that LLC. And then they would have direct access to the LLC's checking account, just like you would set up a business checking account if you had an LLC for your real estate business or for a property, for example. But in this case, the checking account's holding retirement funds. So that's the difference. So with that business checking account, you can then set up a crypto trading account. You can use any platform of your choice through that method. And then obviously what you're setting up with that account or that digital wallet should be in the name of the LLC. And you link that checking account to the digital wallet. So from that point, once you set it up that way, you're free to trade as you wish, but you do have to keep in mind that you can't commingle that wallet or that account with personal accounts that you might be using to trade crypto. Yep. You have to keep them completely separate. The one that you have with your IRA completely separate. So hopefully that wasn't too long-winded, but that is a step-by-step of the two options for setting it up.
No, that's a great explanation. I think, again, if you're listening to this and you're like, whoa, this is a little bit over my head, we do have the basic series that was there. Please listen to that and come back to this then. But what you explained may to me make sense, made to our advanced listener, if you will, made sense to them by separating it up. It just sounds, it just is very similar. If you have an IRA, you just can't commingle those funds. In the world of real estate, if your IRA owns a rental property, those rental funds can't come to you. It has to go right back to the IRA. Has to go right back into that. So same concept. The funds you have to invest in the crypto, you can't take your own personal and mix it in. They're separated out. I mean, that's the laws, that's the rules. So great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Do you want to hand this over to Jack next, or how do you think is best suited?
Yeah, Jack, do you want to just talk about some of the benefits of investing in crypto through the IRA versus personal funds?
Sure. Thanks, Britt. I guess the benefits of investing using an IRA are the tax advantages, whether it's using a tax-deferred IRA, such as a traditional, or using a tax-free IRA, such as a Roth. When you're investing using an IRA, there are no capital gain taxes. I know I get that question a lot with Bitcoin, with any crypto. What am I still paying taxes? So there are no capital gain taxes using a self-directed IRA. And then the other thing, and a lot of people talk to me about this too, they want to diversify their portfolio. It gives them something out of the stock market that maybe is not as volatile. So this gives them a way to diversify their portfolio even further than just stocks, bonds, and mutual funds.
All right, guys. So I know there's a couple of terms that were mentioned. There's there's a IRA, a direct IRA. There's an LLC IRA, and then there's we talk about custody and oversight. So, Brittany, if you could talk about, or sorry, Jack, if you could talk about the differences of a direct IRA versus an LLC IRA.
Okay. Yeah, just to piggyback off of what Brittany was talking about between direct investment and going through using an IRA LLC, I'm going to discuss the pros and cons of each. Let's start with the direct investment. The pros. You eliminate the cost and extra steps of having it set up an LLC. It saves a lot of time. You'll be using a crypto platform that has experience and familiarity working with IRA investors already. And then direct investment uses a US-based exchange and clearinghouse that offers transparency, compliance, and appropriate regulation. So those are the pros of using direct investment.
Okay.
The cons is that not every exchange has every coin. So depending on which coins you're looking to invest in, direct investment might not be the one you're looking at. Okay. Using an IRA LLC, the pros are you have checkbook control. It's easy for you to do your quick transactions. You're in total control. You can use any platform and buy coins from any exchange that you want. Those are the pros. The cons would be, again, the cost of maintaining and setting up the LLC. There's less oversight by the custodian, which means there can be risks of prohibitive transactions done by the investor. So those are pretty much the pros and cons of using either a direct investment or using an IRA LLC.
Now you had mentioned about.
Hey, Navid, can I add one pro to the LLC that Jack was talking about? One of the main benefits of an LLC is the ability to withdraw and deposit coin from the exchange. As Brittany had alluded to before, as a self-directed, you have a closed loop system so that coin and fiat cannot be withdrawn from the exchange, but the LLC gives you greater flexibility because you have to take control of the taxes at the end of the year. So if you wanted to, you can pull that coin off, put it in your own storage device, or you could look to go to an alternative pool of liquidity to generate yield, a DeFi pool.
Great. Thank you for actually adding that on. That's a good piece to know. Because I guess, again, it's this, I don't want to say tech, but this tech, the thing with crypto and IRAs is still new to a lot of people. So obviously giving all their options out there and stuff like that. Jack, to what you had said before in regards to not all exchanges have all the currencies, all the coins rather.
Yes.
Does Next Gen or IRA companies in general, do you guys give like, hey, these are the exchanges that list these coins or something like, do you give any kind of a sheet or any kind of a breakdown of what coins live on what exchanges?
You want me to address that, Jack?
Or yeah, whoever. Yeah.
Yeah, I
any of us.
don't, I want to be careful what I say here.
So right now we're pretty exclusive in terms of what information we're sharing about which companies,
Okay.
and we're pretty selective about that. So we may have some of that information available, but I wouldn't necessarily say that a self-directed IRA custodian would be the ideal resource for like a full listing.
Okay.
I think
That's
that
fair
would be
enough.
best for the investor to do their research in the ways that are best for them to make sure that they're getting access to all information and updated information. And that will vary from custodian to custodian.
No, perfect. That's good. And the reason why I asked that question is everybody's looking for that business in the box, right? They want one spot, one person to go to and answer all the questions. And this is a mini topic we'll cover real quick, is if you're still new and you're listening to this, or if you're someone who's not a novice, regulations all over the place, and everyone has to see why, understandably so. So companies like Next Gen, companies like ErisX, they have to be very careful. Just as a realtor, right? I have to be careful what I say and how I present myself and represent myself in the brokerage overall. So as much as you can probably go to one person and hopefully think they give you everything, they can't. And it's not for them not to make it inconvenient. It's just to make sure that, hey, listen, there's a lot of information out there and it's moving so fast at any given time. You're best off doing your own due diligence. So just keep that in mind, that if you are shopping around and looking for services like this, that if you don't find everything in one-stop shop, it doesn't mean that they're not who you're looking for. That just could be the industry standard. Everyone needs to protect themselves and stuff like that and kind of go from there. So if you think you can just simply say, here's my check, here's a check, go make it work for me, doesn't always work that way. You yourself have to do your own due diligence in any investment that you do, let alone crypto. Anytime you do any kind of investment, please, I highly encourage you to do your own due diligence, which is why we will say 5 different times, this is not financial advice, right? We're just going to have you do what you got to go do and go from that. We can lead you, and this group can lead you in certain ways, but they still got to be careful with this. So thank you for clearing that up, because I would love to go to one spot and say, tell me everything I need to know. Right.
Yeah, that's actually a perfect segue, I think, into the discussion about custody and oversight.
All right, then let's go. Let's talk about that next. That was on my list anyway, so yeah, let's go ahead.
Yeah, that was perfect, Navid. You set it up just right. And yeah, my commentary on this from a self-directed IRA perspective will be brief, and I know that John has a lot more expertise and more to say in the space.
Okay.
But I can comment too on your mentions about due diligence, is that self-directed IRAs have minimal oversight with respect to cryptocurrency, and obviously they're not generally directly holding it. So it is really important to do due diligence on the exchanges and providers that you're looking at. And of course, as with any investment, you do assume a level of risk. No investments are guaranteed. And I would say, especially right now in the crypto space, there's still a lot that we just don't know. And there's a lot that's being figured out and a lot that's changing constantly, more so than any other asset class that we've seen in self-directed IRAs as of late. If I can comment on this, I know it just came out like last night, but the president is expected to sign an executive order on cryptocurrency. So that could come with a lot of changes, limitations we just don't really know yet. And I'll let John comment on anything else that you might have in terms of that. But that could affect how custodians are able to document or report on crypto and IRAs. It could provide more direction for all government agencies with respect to policies and procedures on how it's held and how it's taxed. So there's more stuff coming through the pipe. So I think it's just important for people to be, like we are today, having these conversations where they're educating themselves and they're constantly refreshing on news and updates, especially in the crypto space because of that.
Thanks, Brittany, for touching on the custody and oversight. We'll hand over to John. John, if you could please elaborate a little bit more on what that means. And especially, like she had said, as we're doing this conversation, the president's supposed to do an executive order in regards to crypto. So I'm sure there's a lot of question marks that we can't answer, but let's, what are your thoughts and go from there.
Absolutely, Navid. Thank you so much. The piece on Biden's executive order, I'm going to touch on in the next section, which will be regulation. But for this section, I wanted to dig into oversight and custody. I think that most of your audience knows the feeling when they're trying to interact with customer service and they're suggested to write an email or message the customer service desk and hope they'll get back to you in a timely manner. All of us find it frustrating at times. So one of the things that we do here at ErisX, because we're so focused on customer service, is being available to the client, being able to pick up a phone and talk to somebody. It's a novel idea probably for most people out there, but from a client service standpoint, being able to onboard and interact with our customer service group, we're available Monday through Friday, 7 to 7 Central Time, 12 hours during the week per day. We're available on the phones to help with paperwork and questions. Our market ops group is actually available via phone, and that phone number is 1-888-782-7481, and they're able to help you with anything trade related, anything to deal with the exchange itself. You pick up the phone, you call them, they're going to get on and answer your questions. So speaking of oversight, there's a term that your audience might not know, which is a SOC 2 Type 2, which is a very comprehensive compliance test that our exchange has recently gone through. And most large organizations go through the SOC 2 Type 2. You're basically testing the resiliency of the system and protecting the system against any kind of issues. And some of those issues or those controls that you test for are security, availability, confidentiality, processing integrity, and privacy. A lot of big terms, but the point I'm trying to say is this is not an easy lift. It's a very large lift that the organization went through to ensure compliance. And that review lasted up to 6 months. So we take oversight and regulation very seriously. So we did our SOC 2 Type 2. Also, most of the team here comes from traditional finance. They've all held senior positions at different compliance organizations across Wall Street. And now they're really bringing it back into the cryptocurrency sphere. Speaking of custody, custody is basically the storage of your assets. Mm-hmm. The beauty of the self-directed IRA that Brittany and Jack were talking about is the fact that ErisX can handle that storage for you as a self-directed IRA. So you don't have to worry about trying to find the best solution. We provide that security and that custody. The way that that works is we have our own proprietary logic, and some of your audience might have heard of these terms before, of a warm wallet, a hot wallet, and a cold wallet. What does that mean? Here's the life cycle of a deposit. You come in with coin, that coin's going to first come into a warm wallet, which is like a mid-level security. Then it's going to move to cold storage. What is cold storage? It means it's air gap. What does air gap mean? It's not connected to the internet. It means that you are completely secure. There are some companies that actually take a thumb drive where you store your crypto on and actually put it into a vault to give extra level of security. So there's this cold, warm, hot, and cold concept within the different wallets. Also, when you're speaking custody, we work with a third-party vendor, one of the largest vendors in the industry, called BitGo. BitGo has a $100 million policy, insurance policy. God forbid something goes wrong due to hack or theft or technology disruption. And to take it a step further, ErisX has done the same. We actually have a very large insurance policy ourselves to help protect against those losses. So the point that I'm trying to say is we take security very seriously. And another point that I'd like to highlight when it comes to security is wallet surveillance. You know, most of your audience has probably heard of Silk Road. They probably remember a year ago when there was the issue with gasoline not making it into the Southeast because there was a hacker demanding crypto. Well, think about it. If you're trying to wash money, dollars into the system, the financial system, it's relatively easy. It's not the same with crypto. And that's the misnomer that a lot of people don't understand is once you have a wallet address, you move it to another wallet address, there's a digital footprint. And every time you move it to another address, there's that digital footprint. That's why that those people that we just recently read about in the Southeast with the pipeline, that's why they were able to be identified so quickly, because they actually were able to do the surveillance and check where the wallet addresses were, and they were able to chase down the nefarious actor. Also, for an extra level of security, which we do differently, like if you're going to compare us to another exchange, we have 2 sets of passwords. One is when you log into the system, and if you want to withdraw coin or dollars out of the system, you have to put an extra password into the system. It's 2 passwords, and if it's over a certain dollar value, you're going to actually get a call from our treasury operations group to confirm that it's you and that you're doing this withdrawal. So point is that as it's an exchange, we take security and compliance very seriously.
No, and that I think I'm glad you stressed that, especially with the passwords portion and the digital footprint and the ledgers and stuff, because it's frustrating, right? We want our hard-earned money to be protected, right? But people get frustrated at, oh damn, another password I got to remember. But that's just the time we live in. I mean, what, less than 100 years ago, we were walking into banks with safe and getting the safe deposit boxes. Now, cycle to now, we're going to go to safe deposit boxes with our USB drives, which all has that in the same concept there. So the protection of this, and I think right now, obviously, you do see there's that couple who almost got away with stealing Bitcoin. Yes. I forgot what it was. They got caught, right? Mm-hmm. You had several people who've tried it, and then yeah, you do have, again, we'll go back to the due diligence side, like the meme coins that come on out and people do this one, and they, it goes up to 1 penny and then they just tank out and stuff like that. This is where a company like ErisX comes in play, guys. You don't have like a popular Netflix show that releases a digital coin and then you just go invest into it and then it's gone in the middle of the night. You go to a company like this, right, who is, who has their SOC 2 and Type 2, has that the tests have been taken. They've got people, regulators in place. They have an extensive background of this, of crypto. Now, again, I think, John, you said you've been with the company for 5 years, which doesn't sound like a lot. But if you look at the crypto space, that space has not been mainstream for a very long time. So to be in that business for 5 years, 7, 10 years, that's a long time. That's actually
I get made fun of for being an old timer, and 5 years is not a long time, Navid.
And that's the thing, right? Like you think like, what? Only 5 years? What's 5 years? Well, in the crypto space, that's a lot of. We move so fast. Life in general moves so fast, right? So this space moves even faster than that. So for someone like me, who's busy in real estate, for the audience out there, I've got people who are truck drivers. I got people who are painters, people who are just, who do web support and stuff like that, who are listening to this. They're really, really busy with their stuff. They're just busy with their daily life, stuff like that. And then they want to get into this game. They want to get into more investing stuff. Well, this is the main purpose of doing this. Say, hey, listen, there's companies out there that can help you guys with this stuff. And instead of you going through all these classes and taking it, you just go to Next Gen, you go to ErisX, and you just get the best of both worlds with you guys, which is what I love about it.
And Navid, I think you touched on a great point before. I think that you highlighted the point that look at how far we've come in 5 years. Think about where we're going to go in the next 5 years, since the adoption rate is even higher now. And you're seeing, which I'll talk about later about mass adoption, but the adoption rate is with the institutional community is growing exponentially.
Yeah. And that's so what we're going to do is this particular episode, there's a lot of information we gave you guys, right? So we're going to close this one out for now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to talk about in the next one, we're going to talk about regulations, right? So it's a mini series. So kind of a recap. We spoke about the overall view of an IRA, and we talked about the custody and oversight portion of it. We talked about a direct IRA versus an Llc Ira, and we talked about how very, very briefly touched on ErisX's role, how they can kind of get you there. And again, it's just the tip of the iceberg. We're definitely going to get into that. And as John just said, it's only been 5 years, so imagine where we're going to be going. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, this is too much for me, it isn't. It really isn't. Remember, this is just a podcast. We're trying to cram in what we can without overloading you guys and saying this sucks and go to the next podcast. We don't want you to do that. So we want to kind of close this one out, and then we're going to talk about, as he has said, where are we going in the future? Where are we going? So what does that mean? Regulations. Regulations are going to change. They're going to adapt and stuff like that. We've already heard of countries who are adapting crypto as their main source of, as their currency, right? As their fiat currency. So not fiat, as a currency rather. And then we'll talk about onshore and offshore accounts and stuff like that. All this stuff's going to be evolving and changing. And so instead of giving you two all one big shot and overwhelming you guys, we're going to close this episode out here. You guys hang around, please don't go anywhere. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into part 2, which is going to be regulations. So listen, the beauty of a podcast, you can listen to it again. The beauty of YouTube, you can rewind it. John gave his phone number or the customer support number, stuff like that. So please write that down. We'll have it displayed and stuff like that. So if you don't have a pen and paper in your car, please don't wreck or hit autopilot. It's not that important. We got you covered. What we're going to do though, is we're going to close the show out and go on to the next one. So listen, each and every week, I say the same thing. Just take care of the client. If you take care of the client, everything else will fall into place. I promise you, don't chase the money. Don't chase anything else. Just take care of the client. And sometimes the client is you. You take care of yourself. You're the best version of yourself. That means you can be the best version for your family, your friends, and your coworkers. So be good to each other. Be good to yourself. Be safe out there. Be careful. And I will see you guys next week, as will they. So thank you guys. Don't go anywhere. And we're going to go right off to the next episode, which is going to talk about regulations.